in my business, like, yeah, I started like really in debt and then I started having some success, but I was still building more and more debt. Right. And so then there were some other issues, financially, like I got hit with a $29,000 tax bill and then, all of this stuff. It wasn't just a straight trajectory.
Life Reimagined with Stacey Ray.
Before we begin, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on social media. Hi, I am joined today by Kat Ford Coates. She is the epitome of turning life's detours into new destinations. She is a renowned photographer who helps women build confidence and feel empowered by the way in which she captures them. But she's also a businesswoman, an entrepreneur who has started a program where she helps other female entrepreneurs learn how to make a creative business a profitable business. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce her to you today. So let's get started. Well, it's so nice to meet you, Kat.
You too, Stacey. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. I find you a fascinating woman. And I'll tell you, first and foremost, I gotta tell you that I spent my life wanting to be everything. Like, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to try, like, everything because the world just excited me. And so when I saw, like, all the different paths that you've taken, I thought that was amazing. And I think what really strikes me is how much of your journeys, plural, have led you to a place where, from looking at your photos, I feel like you can really see inside people's soul. Do you feel that way?
Well, I don't know if it's soul. As far as photo goes, I really try to connect with the person. Because it's not just about the camera, right? It's about like sharing the version of them they hope people see.
Right.
We've all been through walks of life, and I don't care which path you're on, where there's a version of us. God, I hope somebody sees this in me. I hope so. And you don't dare say it out loud.
Right.
And that's always been the purpose in the photo space. The photo for me came at a wild, wild time in my life. And it popped up a few times. I was photographed by a photographer when I was like 15 or 16. And I had been bullied a lot growing up for being fat and awkward and stupid and weird. And, all of kids are cruel.
They are very cruel.
But nobody but my mother had ever, praised me for being a wonderful human being or beautiful or even pretty. Mm-hmm. And I was on set and photographed, and it wasn't a surprise that I was there. It wasn't weird that I was there or awkward or strange. It was like, oh, okay, cool. You're being photographed. Come do this thing. Like, went through, and it was, the first professional set I'd ever been on. And it was really empowering. Like, I left there feeling like 10 miles high. And, I did some modeling as a teenager and as, young girls are often apt to do. And then I went on with my life. That really changed how I showed up in the world.
How so?
Well, I was bold enough to just say, I enjoy this. Let's see if we can make it happen. And that wouldn't have happened had I not developed the confidence from that experience.
And haters be damned.
Well, there's something that comes with confidence that, confidence and empowerment and all of those buzzwords, right? But when it comes from an authentic space, when it comes from you stepping into and owning your space, mm-hmm. the byproducts of that are like the butterfly effect is real, right? I've had people leave my studio and go and ask for the raise, or they're feeling really great. So they're kinder to their families, and they were kind to their children, and their children went to school and were kinder to their friends and the teacher. And the teacher's like, oh my God, thank you. And that's because of that.
Yeah.
And everything, I'm kind of a bull in a china shop at life a little bit. Like,
I love that. Like, yeah.
right. But it very much is this space where like I never would have found the courage to say, you know what, I want to teach opera to children because I know I'm good at it and I need to make a living at the age of 18.
Opera. Where did that develop from? I personally love opera. And that's one of the things my mom and I would do together. So to me, opera is one of the most purest forms of joy that I can find. So how did you come to opera?
I had an opportunity my freshman year to go to a magnet school in Sarasota, Florida. And it's Booker High School Visual and Performing Arts Center. And it was by audition only. And singing has always been sort of my first, like, intrinsic skill.
Oh.
And so I auditioned for their music program. And I auditioned with Memories from Cats, like 97% of young girls would.
Right. At the time. Yeah.
Right. And, I was there for 4 years. And so, doing vocal training and performing and recitals and juries and all of the things. And when I graduated from high school, I really didn't know where to go or what to do or how to continue to invest in the craft, but I needed to make a living and I wanted to stay connected to it.
Right.
And one of my instructors at VPA also owned a music school where she taught piano and voice. And so she hired me to come in and teach for her while I just sort of navigated that path. Mostly my singing anymore is at karaoke.
Did you ever consider when you were going to school all those years that music was going to be your career? Or was it just because you loved it?
I think it was because I loved it. I wanted to move to New York and perform and all of these things. But, I never could figure out how to make it happen. There was a lot of fear, of course, wrapped up in that. But it was very much like I have to learn how to pay bills, right? I moved out of my house pretty much immediately that summer and was like, how do I pay rent? And then got
that pesky
sidetracked.
adulting, yeah.
Oh, I
Like,
know.
yeah, I know.
Adulting's the
Like, how dare
worst.
they make us do those things? Yeah.
Yeah. But I really wanted to stay connected to it. And I think I always thought I would move into more of like a rock space from it. But that never really came to fruition. It wasn't something I was committed to. So it's just I sing because I love to sing, period. I did get a really cool opportunity. I was in Italy supporting my mentor. She was giving a workshop, and her assistant is this amazing pianist. His name's Gerson Lopez. And so Gerson was playing, and I ran up and I said, gee, I was like, can I send you a link to this aria? And he looked at me and was like, yes, please. And I got to sing When I Am Laid to Earth from Dido and Aeneas in an Italian castle. It's not an Italian opera, but it was like
It's still
this big moment.
that is a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
because
very
that's,
cool.
like one of a kind moments. So I'm curious about something. Certified sake professional?
Yes.
Do tell.
I was in the food and beverage industry for a long time, like 12 years. I was a bartender, restaurant manager, bar manager, all the things from Boston to North Carolina.
Okay.
In downtown Asheville. So, but at any rate, I had been downtown for 10 years and somebody made me an offer to come and manage this family-owned restaurant. And I said, I'm going to be a grown-up. I'm going to go manage this restaurant. And after about 8 or 9 months, they shuttered the business. So when they let me go, I just went back downtown. I was like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll get a job. And nobody would touch me.
Why do you think that is?
I was told I was too old at 35.
Okay. Yeah.
35, I was too old, and
Yeah.
I started to panic.
And out to pasture you go.
So instead of getting one job, I got four. One of those restaurants we always joked that that's where they send bartenders out to pasture. It was actually at that restaurant that I worked with two other people there that I had worked with at multiple locations all over downtown throughout the years. And we had a cooking club. Every Monday we would get together, and one person decided that he was like, I'm going to learn how to roll sushi. Let's do a Japanese night. And we were like, okay, well, you can't bring red wine to sushi nights. So
Right.
I guess sake? Like, okay.
What's the culture around sake? First of all, I've never had it.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, no. Ironically, since I've been to Japan multiple times, is there like a cultural focus on, when it's served and why it's served?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
um, there are some, traditions around it when you're enjoying it. Like you never pour your own,
Okay.
right? So you're never drinking alone, right? You're always drinking with someone you
Ah,
love or with friends. So they pour yours, you pour
okay.
theirs. Kenpai, is like the celebratory cheers. But Asheville had this rivalry with Portland, Oregon for Beer City, USA. And Mary, the other person, she brought a couple different types of sake and turned one over, and it was from a place called Momokawa, who was based out of Portland. And she said, well, if Portland can have a sake brewery, why doesn't Asheville? And we all went, why doesn't Asheville?
Right.
So we really dove into the education around it and found John Gauntner, who is like the grandfather of sake. And so we got digging into his education and his certification, and we all were certified. We even sent Mitch to Kura in Japan to learn like these ages old techniques, because he and Mary were responsible for the majority of the brewing. I was responsible for like the admin side. John had come with a few colleagues to the States, and he was like, wow. And that's when we knew we really had gold. But we were severely undercapitalized. We had a lot of trouble with the TTB. We made some really big pivots. And then 2.5 years of being open, we had to shutter. I'd racked up close to $100,000 in debt myself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And just living in, at the time it was like, okay, sake is going
Yeah.
to be how I retire.
Yeah.
Right. And we had a love of it and just all of this, everything. But there was just so many moving parts and we couldn't keep up.
My show is really meant to talk about turning life's detours into new destinations.
Hmm.
You're a classic example of doing that.
Sure.
So when you found yourself, $100,000 in debt and this thing that you had worked so hard for clearly wasn't going to work out, how did you cope with that? What was your thoughts and what was next for you?
So when we like officially opened, my plan was, because I was still kind of bartending a little bit on the side and like showing up for caterings and la la la. But I was like, photo will be how I pay my mortgage. That'll be how I make money. And I assumed I would go into weddings, right? So I hustled really hard in the wedding world and would take portraits on occasion, but couldn't make money to save my life. So I would say like the debt that I incurred wasn't only like, it was also from past mistakes and then living hand to mouth and not getting paid from the brewery. And so I was just getting deeper and deeper into debt. And by, I would say, October of 2014 is when I was like, guys, we ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've got a choice to make. I can go all in on photo, find somebody that has a business model, and so I can understand how to price and how to market and how to build the
Right.
portfolio and do the thing. Or I can leverage a 12-year history and just go get a management job at a chain restaurant.
So one is using skill and experience, the other is using your creative soul and finding joy and purpose in your life.
Well, and then cultivating experience and skill. That's really when I started to uncover the impact that first photo shoot had for me.
When you were 15.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I had found this woman who was doing that, built a business on that experience for women. And she had been based in Australia, New Zealand, had moved to the States maybe a year or two before that.
right.
And she was offering education around building
Yeah.
that business. And I went, oh, she has it. She has the systems. I have to do this. I have to do this. And her name is Sue Bryce. And so I waited. She had like a Black Friday sale on her course. Right. And I overdrafted my checking account to enroll, because that's what we all do as smart business owners, right?
Right.
Just over leverage our finances. But I didn't look back. It was like, these are the systems, this is how to do it. So suddenly I had permission. I had permission to charge a sustainable rate instead of chasing people for $300 sessions. I was like, no. Okay, all right. And like 4 months later, I was at a $1,700 average sale. I was building a portfolio. I mean, it wasn't great work. And that's the thing that I really want to impart on people is it has to be good. It doesn't have to be great. Our desire as creatives for our work to be better, more experimental, that never goes away. But I knew if I didn't make that commitment to myself in that moment, that 99-year-old cat would have regretted half of her life.
Oh, I'm with you. You know what, you said something that I wanted to circle back to that I find. I have a litany of words, starting with frustrating, annoyance, infuriation, when women are expected to charge less,
Mm-hmm.
not be paid their value and their worth, not just financially, but in respect, accolades, etc., etc. And I watch female entrepreneurs every day of the week undercutting themselves.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where, the mentality is some business is better than no business. I have never, ever been willing to accept that. And I think it's because I worked when I was in corporate America and healthcare. I worked with so many successful men. And I always felt like, of course, working in the 80s and 90s, I have to be one of them. I have to be tough like them. I have to think like them. Because otherwise, I'm going to be relegated to a subsidiary of what's really happening in the world and what I want to do. And so, bravo to you for not falling in that trap and for being willing to say, this is my value, this is my worth.
It's wild. Wild to me. I read, it was from Ibis World, I think, in 2023. Women own 51% of the businesses in the country. In the entire United States, 51% are owned by women. You know how much we produce in sales, percentage-wise?
Go for it.
4%.
And do you know how much venture capital goes to those women? 2%.
Ladies.
2%. And I will tell you, I am thrilled to tell you that there are angel investors out there that are women who are just now starting to fund other women businesses. And I find it horrifying. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm certainly not in a position to be an angel investor, but all things being equal, when I have a choice of women-owned businesses versus corporate or male-dominated, I'm sorry, I'm going to go with the women because the whole scene is different.
Oh, it's 1,000%. Women and minority-owned businesses.
Yes.
You know, Goldman Sachs is really getting in a lot with Black women-owned businesses,
Yes.
especially this year. And it's been really terrific watching,
Yes.
Leslie Andrews is a colleague of mine based out of Atlanta. Terrific photographer. She went to this Goldman Sachs education portal and graduated. And,
Right.
that's, I think, also why I get so upset about all of the DEI rhetoric from, leadership. And because we have so much to contribute to the world, and we have spent generations just being in service for what somebody might or might not give us. And our initial instinct is, let me give you a discount. Our initial instinct is, well, let me make it work for you.
And you're right. There's a food chain, but when you think of pay equity, which is non-existent between, let's just go with male and female, we know that story and those numbers. But what we never look at also is, even with women, a white woman makes 15% more than a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And a Black woman is making 15% more than a Latino woman. Why?
There was a video that went viral, and this has been several years, but it pops back up every once in a while. And it's a coach teaching teenagers about equity and equality. And it starts by like, okay, everybody starts at the same line.
I've seen that video and I love it.
I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at.
It's terrific. Because, at the end, all you see are primarily white young men at the finish line, girls behind, Black community behind that, and again, the Latinos behind that. And that's really where the aha comes from, because it's not just access to going to school and getting the diploma. It's the responsibilities that each community carries in being able to get there.
Right.
So when we talk about, business and, the mindset behind business and the resources that we have access to, but having the systems in place to be bold enough to command it. And I think that's where a lot of women get it wrong. And it's not you get it wrong, you're a bad person.
No, I
get out.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
just something that we all go through and have to learn from. And some of us get through it and others don't. And whatever path you choose is your choice.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of immediately meeting the needs or expectations of the person standing in front of you to wheel and deal and negotiate down, what confidence do you think that same person would have with you if you held the boundary with confidence and knowing 1,000% you can serve them and solve their problems? What authority comes from that space?
And I will say to you, as someone who buys creative work, I am absolutely never, ever, never have and never will, going to ask someone, would you take less for your blood, guts, and soul that you just put into this piece? Do you see it that way?
I think it depends on the context. I think artists do hold that space that's here, right?
Yeah.
It is a piece of me.
Right.
It wouldn't occur without me.
Right.
But they don't want to lean in too hard on the ego of
Sure.
it wouldn't happen without me kind of
Right.
a thing.
Right.
But they also can't own the price point it needs to be because it is a piece of me.
Right.
It's an extension of who I am because I created something out of nothing.
Right.
That portrait that I took of you was not there 5 minutes before. It did not exist.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this message.
You might think it's just a getaway. A few days off, a change of pace, a little space to breathe. But the real part? That sneaks up on you. A laugh shared over dinner feels like medicine. A simple moment with a stranger starts to feel like something familiar. And then it hits you. You're not just visiting a place, you're being seen, heard, known. And before you even notice, you're not just taking time for yourself, you're rediscovering parts of you that got quiet. Between clinking glasses and sunrise stories, something shifts. These women who started out as strangers, they feel a lot like sisters now. We didn't just plan a trip. We made space for something real. We said it would be special. We just forgot to mention it's the kind of special that stays with you. So if you're ready for more than just time away, if you're ready to connect, come find your place with us. Start your journey at sisterhoodtravels.com.
Let's dive right back in. So that leads me to another question, like, when you did decide to go back into photography and make a true business out of it, how did you decide what you truly were going to focus on, and why did you choose that?
When I connected the dots to what Sue was showing, what portrait actually meant, I don't think most people know what portrait means. They think portrait is something that someone paints in the 1800s and it's hanging on your aunt's wall, and that's what portrait is. Portrait is an umbrella of, individuals, families, boudoir, high school seniors, newborns. Portrait is a pretty big umbrella. But when I saw what Sue was shooting, it immediately took me back to that photo shoot as a teenager. And I said, that's what I want. Like, I felt it in every cell of my being. That's what I want.
Is it because it captured what you believe to be your true essence?
I think it's because I knew it was transformational.
There you go.
I can photograph someone's wedding and make beautiful photos.
Sure.
I don't know that I find that genre to be transformational as a vehicle in the photo space. Can you create incredible work? 1000%. But there is a personal transformation that occurs in the portrait space that I suppose probably also can occur in the fashion space. But it's created a bit differently. That transformation truly changes people's lives. And it's often taken for granted. It's often overlooked. It's often something that, parents are trying to fit in. Mom really wants it. Dad's like, God, please, really?
Yeah.
That they're just trying to fit in really fast just so they have something, because mom is always behind the camera. She's the one taking photos at the family events and, will you please sit still for 2 seconds so I can get this photo? But she's never in them.
Right. Oh, correct.
Ever.
Right.
And, in 2003, I was living in Arlington, which is just outside Boston, and my house burned down.
Oh my gosh.
So the only photos of me that existed from 2003 forward were in a baby book at my mom's house. And she had a couple like high school graduation things and, like little pieces, right? But that was it.
Yeah.
So from 1994, when I graduated from high school, in 2003, I had been wiped off the face of the planet.
Oh my goodness. What does that feel like?
It's pretty strange because I know I'm sitting here right now, But if that were still true today and I got hit by a bus this afternoon, who was Kat? And they're only going to pull up this photo that my mom had in a stupid yellow gown that was wrinkled, making a weird face as like, oh, okay, that's who Kat is. And so when mom's not part of the equation, and mom is the matriarch and the lifeblood of a family, she's the source of that family.
Right.
And she's not in any evidence that that family loves, that that family lives. What does that do for the children?
That is very profound to me. I think I worked very hard of not being in photos.
Hmm.
And something that my daughter has said to me on multiple occasions, this is so unfair of you. And basically gave me the thing like, if something happens to me, she doesn't even have like pictures. So now we have this joke. I'm like, as long as I retain creative control of where they go and
I get
things like
veto
that.
power.
Yeah, exactly. But the truth is, I've been realizing my daughter is never going to look at those photos and go, wow, she had a double chin in that photo, or, oh, her hair looked awful in that photo. She's going to go, that's my mom. Look at how much fun we were having. So I get exactly what you're saying. And I do think that it also is part of the invisibility theory that I have of how women are expected, especially as we age, to become invisible. And we have nothing to offer, which is completely untrue. But I notice in your photos, I was struck by how I felt like I kind of got a feel for who those people are. How do you do a session with someone and actually get to that beautiful photo?
So I have a very specific process. I don't just take a booking and you show up and we shoot and get whatever, right? There's always like a design consultation. And the design consultation is where the customer is educated on like, what does this process look like? What are the expectations? But also, how do I prepare for this?
Right.
Right? But it's also where I am educated about who that person is. Not just what are the goals or the usage for this imagery, but what is your vision? What is your vibe? What is your aesthetic? And whether it's for branding or for portrait, like the questions are slightly shifted. But it's really about understanding what you're drawn to and the story that you want that imagery to be in support of. Is that you and your daughter being photographed together, and the story you want to share about how much you adore one another? Is it, is there a color palette that each of you really loves to wear, or how you decorate your home, or any of those tactical things?
Right.
But really leaning into the story. When was the last time you were photographed by a professional? What didn't you care for about that experience? What did you really appreciate about it? Because your answers to those questions help me appreciate what it is that you value. When I understand what it is you value, whether that's community or relationships, if that is like my mentor said, she said, the first question somebody ever asks you shows you what their highest value is. So when you meet somebody and they go, oh, do you have any kids? Their highest value is their family. They're probably a parent.
Oh.
When they ask you, oh, so what do you do? They're a professional. They may be an entrepreneur. And so when you understand what it is that someone values and you start thinking about that in the recipe of imagery, how can I create a visual state where that person's face, their expression, their body language all mirror those values? I can do that through floral elements. I can do that through texture alone. And then how I light them is going to determine what that story looks like. The lens choice that I use is going to determine what the compression looks like. There's multiple aspects, but in that design consult is really where I get to know you, and you're not just another client, right? It's not faceless. And that's really the short answer of how that's created. And it's always wild to me, like, because I could have created a high volume studio. Some of my work has been high volume. I've worked for some publications where I photographed 15 women in a day, just back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And I think while I appreciated and love the opportunity, because it's allowed me to grow that network, right? Had I not had those consultations with each and every one of those women before that super tiny short photo shoot, they would have all been faceless to me. And connection with people is one of my highest values. And so my purpose is in giving people that experience and opportunity to step in and take up space. The byproduct of that is them either accepting the responsibility of that or running from it.
I feel like if someone walks away from your beautiful photos and keeps staring at it and saying, oh my God, that's me. You're right. That is transformational.
Well, now you have physical evidence that that version of you exists.
Yeah.
Right? You can hold that photo in your hand and be like, holy crap, she's real. This isn't AI. This isn't CGI. This isn't magic. But that's also, I think that's also what keeps women, especially in men too, but from being photographed. Photographers all around the world, they want to blame it on the market. They want to blame it on the iPhone. They want to blame it on the digital age. But really, at the end of the day, that camera is going to produce something that's going to outlive you. It's going to outlive your grandkids. And it's going to be evidence that that version of you exists. And that camera may, if you don't have trust and faith in the person behind it, may see everything you hate about yourself too.
I hadn't thought of that side of it. Yeah. My nose is too big. My lips have wrinkles.
I don't want to see that version of me. I want to see the version of me when I was 39.
That's funny because I am 65 and I am embracing it so fully. And I'm actually really proud of myself because I can remember conversations with my friends, like when we were in our 20s, and going, if I ever get to 40, just shoot me. I don't ever want to be that old. We just thought that was horrifying. And I'm 65, and I'll tell you, I'm not afraid to be arrogant about it. I can run circles around people half my age, okay?
That's awesome.
And I love that that's where I'm at. But capturing my essence in a legacy type of situation where it's going to live on forever, that is a little scary to me. But it's also very enticing.
Let's do it.
I say yes. And it's not like I'm so far from Asheville. So tell me about your business, because I know you started a phenomenal business that is also helping other photographers. Is that right?
When I saw those metrics we were talking about earlier, right? 51% owned by women, 4% of the revenue. Then I started digging into photographers and just photo as an industry. And in the States, there are 248,000 some odd registered photography businesses. So that's actually just businesses that are registered. That's not even including the fly under the radar. Sometimes I get paid as a hobby, and only 8% of them are doing more than $100,000 a year in sales. And that's gross. So that's 20,000 businesses are meeting 100K in sales. And I was like, wait, what? Because that's not just in the portrait genre, right? That's across fashion and commercial and weddings and all of it, right? Real estate, that's out of everything. And I said, how's that even possible? Like, are we really so far gone as an industry that we cannot reach $100,000 in sales? It takes, in order for you to save for retirement and go on vacation and provide for your family, like a minimum, I think is like 92,000 a year in take home.
And that's bare minimum.
I got to thinking about it because in my business, like, yeah, I started like really in debt and then I started having some success, but I was still building more and more debt.
Sure.
Right. And so then there were some other issues, financially, like I got hit with a $29,000 tax bill and then, all of this stuff. It wasn't just straight trajectory. But at the height of my business, with the studio, we were doing between 50 and 60K a month.
Wow, kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, my overhead was higher and but we were doing it. And I was like, I was traveling all over the world. Like I've had clients take me to Bali and Italy and, I shot tons of places and I loved it. That's what I wanted to do. A friend of mine, she looks at me and she goes, well, you're a damn unicorn. Go teach them. And just like it took the self-healing and really learning how to be a business owner to go from 100K in debt to paid off to more debt to paid off to like, okay, how do we keep this from happening again? The same thing is true for me owning the space to be teaching other people how to be business owners. Because I looked at all of that history and went, I am not a good business owner.
Right.
And I had to own the fact, like, no, like it's not a straight path to the top. And one thing that Sue always said was you will learn more about yourself as a business owner than you do in any other career endeavor ever.
I could not agree more.
So I had to learn how to own it. But at the time that all of that was coming to fruition, I was actually teaching Sue's material on her platform. And I spent a year teaching her students and really coming into my own as an educator. And that's when I learned how to own it. And I wanted it to be about, I just paid off 100K in debt. It's from this business. It was, yeah, you paid off 100K in debt, but you still had some rockiness and some things that you had to face along the way. But that's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
And if creatives are going to spend years learning how to stay in the joy of what they create and master their craft and bring that to the world to help change people's lives, to solve their problems, alleviate their pain, and create this thing, they also have to give the same credence to learning how to be a business owner.
Absolutely. And unapologetic for being one.
And even pridefully being one.
Absolutely. I think, as women, we are so used to being told, you're not a real business. Right?
Yep.
Even with my company, I think people thought initially this was my hobby. I think there are people who resent that I am successful at this point. And I think there are many women who resent it.
Well, it's mirror, mirror, right? Like you're showing them what's possible.
Right. Especially at an age where my friends all said, why do you want to do this at your age? And I'd be like, okay, well, last time I looked, I'm still this age, whether I'm doing this or not.
Well, there's this expectation that we're just supposed to go, out to proverbial pasture, right? And just drink wine and go shopping and then, clean the house or something. And you know what? If that's what you want for your life, like there's nothing wrong with it.
Agreed. I agree. Everybody has what's important to them, as you say. Mm-hmm. They have their own interests. I don't judge. But I don't want to be judged either for the fact that this propels me. And one of the things I've loved about doing this podcast is that I meet so many fascinating women with so many different perspectives. And I know that the people that listen to this podcast, someone, even if it's one person, is being seen and heard in your story. It was worth it.
Well, and it's how people identify.
Yeah.
You know, like it's with that human connection. That's why the personal branding and the headshots are so valuable, because
Right.
it gives the audience someone to identify to in support of the values that you bring to the business, right?
Absolutely. So are you really an educational business aside from your own photography, or how's that working? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a full-blown platform and cohort, and you know, we grow, and then it's like, okay, maintain it. Let's get proof of concept that we can maintain it and make
Right.
sure that the people who are trusting me with their businesses and to teach them, like, they're supported. And it's really exciting to watch people get it, because, you know, like I have one woman, she came to me and she's originally from Bosnia, and her name's Ivana. And she came and she actually lived in Asheville for some time. And so we would connect every once in a while. She's in her 20s, like very young, and wanted it to be all about the art, right? And just got really excellent at retouching, was acknowledged by Adobe as like photographer of the year, and all of this. And I brought her into Sue's education. And I was like, you need to be building a business. You can shoot all day long, but this is getting like, if you're in business, you're in business. You can't
Right.
be on the fence. And so she came in and she found some success there, right? She was spinning up. She was doing about 6,000 in sales a month, but she was exhausted. She was working like 60 hours a week, and it was just like, Kat, I know I'm leaving money on the table somewhere. Like, what is going on? And when you work with me, you come in and I teach you how to track metrics and reach for KPIs and systems and you know, all of the businessy stuff that we all want to avoid. We all just want to shoot and make pretty art and make people feel good. It's not sexy until it is. 3 months later, she was doing $20,000 a month. Then she moved across the country to a metropolitan area where it is more difficult, because the saturation is so much higher. And when you don't
Right.
have a reputation, it's like pulling your hair out.
Right.
And still did $7,000 just in session fees. And her first month shooting there, she did 11. And she was like, and time and again, I'll get messages from her, you know, like, I know I can land anywhere in the world and be successful. And watching people find themselves in how their CEO-ness shows up in
Yes.
their lives,
Yes.
it's just as empowering as the photo shoot.
I was going to just ask you, is it equally as satisfying? Because it sure sounds like it, and it sure sounds like you're very passionate about it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really love it. And not everybody moves that quickly either, right? Because again, you know, we're faced with our own disbelief. Everything that we've been told about, you know, like, you can't charge that much.
I know.
Who do you think you are? How do
Right.
you sleep at night? All of those things, that the inner gremlins again, right?
Right.
But being able to support people in that space, because once they get proof of concept that they can actually thrive, the first time they get there, they sort of look up and they're like, oh my God, was it an accident? Like $20,000 and $30,000 months don't happen by accident.
That's right.
But you have to have the faith in yourself, the self-value to know that you can do it again. And that's really how I support people in that space, is this is how you do it. I'll give you the perspective that you need along the way when you're faced with challenges or client experiences or stumbles. But now it's, okay, now go replicate. Because if you can do $10,000 a month in photography, you can do 30.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what does that do for your life?
Yeah.
Are you being a martyr because I'm broke, I can't get anybody to pay me, and that gets you the attention that you need to make it okay that you're not focusing on what you need to?
Yeah.
Or are you ready to go get it?
And so, do you feel like part of your formula is to not only achieve a solid, profitable business, but to also achieve a healthy work-life balance? Or do you think there is such a thing as a CEO?
I don't know that it exists.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you on that.
I think that being a CEO requires that you be obsessed,
24/7.
but you get to define what you're obsessed about.
Correct.
And that's not to say that you can't be there for your kids or your partner or your
Of
parents.
course, yeah.
You, of course, can. And I think you define what that success is for you, and then you hold the boundary. Does that mean that compromise isn't going to come up? Of course not. Like, that happens in both directions. But I think when you understand what it is that you value, you know when to make those concessions
Right.
and how to prepare for them, how to
Right.
prepare for that compromise. So if we need to skip that, I don't know, fundraising gala that we're sponsoring because someone in our family is graduating from college or from high school, like, what can you put in place for the sponsorship so that you're still represented so you can be present for the people that mean most to you?
One last question. To all of the wannabe entrepreneurs, women who are truly passionate about their ideas or their goals, how would you tell them to move further and make it happen?
You know, most, especially women that I speak to that have this thing spinning up and they want it to be a thing, but they don't know how. They don't want to make it about the money. They care so much that the second they make it about the money, I think the assumption is that they're just creating a job and then they'll hate it. That's what happened to me with music. Right? I focused so much on the theory and the analysis and all of that that I hated music for a while. And business can be like that too. I
Yeah.
don't want to hate this thing that I'm so passionate about. But then the next assumption is like, what if I fail? Then maybe it's not meant for me. And to have something that you care about so deeply crumble in front of you is heartbreaking. When we closed the sake brewery, all of us were like, wow, right? Like, and that's a risk that you do take. When you realize that the step to creating a business is realizing that the business is a separate entity from who you are, that's when you're able to shift and determine if the risk is worthwhile or not.
That's a great point.
Because the business needs profitability the same way we as humans need air, water, food, shelter. We have to make it about the money for the sake of the business. So when we're sitting in the money is bad, rich people are evil, all of those limiting beliefs, right? Like, that's your first step of mirror, mirror. Like, are we the problem? But when we treat the business like a separate entity, the same way you would for your children, they are not you. They might be your mini you. They might be
Yeah,
whatever,
right.
but they're still an extension of you.
Yes.
Like, mothers carry the cells of their children throughout their lives
Right.
in their bodies.
Right.
Your business is like that too. So if we are really passionate about something and we have a dream and it resonates and it sits so deeply, we're going to be afraid.
Right.
Your lizard brain is going to tell you, oh
Yeah,
my
of
God, we're all going to
course.
die.
Yeah, right.
Right? But when you make it outside of yourself and appreciate that, well, fear is there anyway. Are you letting fear make the choices for you?
Right.
You can say, I got this fear. I got it. Thank you anyway. You've kept me alive all these years. I think I'll be all right. Then you can decide.
I think it's fabulous, fabulous advice. And so much of what you say is so true. Fear is the number one reason that people don't live the lives that they want to live.
Oh, sure.
So, and certainly as parents, we always have to say, wait a minute. Let's not infuse my fear into my children. But I think you also have to take that a step further and say, let's not infuse this into the possibilities of life.
Exactly. 1000%.
This has been such a joy for me. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'm looking forward to, I feel like I made a new friend today, and we will definitely keep in touch.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
much for having me.
you. Thank you. If you liked this show, please be sure to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, give us a review, because it really helps grow our podcast.